26.2 finishes, runners doing good. Is there a lack of diversity in the New York running community? And does NYRR need rebuilding? Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Runway Podcast. I am your host, Kim, and if this is your first time listening, I want to thank you for joining me today. And if you are a return listener, thank you so much for coming back and showing your support for me and for the Runway Podcast. So you may have noticed in your podcast app, the Runway has a little bit of a new look. And I figured I'd just do a little switch up. We're about, I think this is episode 22. Don't hold me to that. But yeah, I've been doing this for a few months now through the pandemic, and I thought it was time for a new look. So the podcast cover art for the Runway Podcast has gotten a little facelift, and I must say, I think it's kind of cute. And I want to thank my friend Amanda for shooting me down in Brooklyn and Dumbo. She got some great shots, and that shot was one of them. If you are in New York City and in need of a good photographer, Amanda is great. Her Instagram, and I'm gonna put it up on the screen here, is AFARIAHSHOTIT. So A for Raya shot it. She's based in Brooklyn and she is great. And she's also a runner, so definitely hit her up if you're looking for photography in the New York City area. This portion of the show is sponsored by Mid-Strike Magazine, the first diverse digital runners magazine. Check out their September issue featuring Tess, founder and race director of Running Nerds and founding partner of the race. Visit midstrikemagazine.com to read the latest issue and be sure to subscribe to the mag so you'll be updated first when a new issue drops. This past weekend was Boston Marathon virtual run weekend. So I just want to give a kudos to all of those that completed 26.2 miles virtually. I know that is no easy task. We're used to those crowds out there cheering us on and pushing us through those long and grueling miles. And a lot of you guys did it on your own, and I'm super proud of you because I know it is something that I could never conquer. So kudos to you. I've been seeing people all over the country completing their virtual races, and I know this year has been tough and a lot of virtual racing is going on, but I'm glad that a lot of you have stayed motivated and have been able to push through during this trying time and accomplish your goals of running that Boston Marathon virtual. So congrats to all of you. Speaking of virtual races, I'm actually an ambassador for the Route 66 Marathon. Now, the ambassadorships were announced before COVID hit, so I was expecting to actually run this race in person in November in Oklahoma, but of course that didn't happen, and the race has turned virtual. So full disclosure, being an ambassador, I do get a free race entry and other VIP perks from the race. Just wanted to give you full disclosure, but if you are interested in doing virtual races, definitely check this one out. It is in November, and you can use my code 2020 Straight Kim, STR8KIM, and you'll get $10 off of your registration. With the registration, you get this fly hoodie, you get a medal, and you get a coin as well, a special coin for the 14 and a half race. They're calling it 14 and a half because COVID hit, so they had to do a little spin on it. But yeah, the race is cool. I was hoping to run in November, but they have rolled over our ambassadorships to 2021. So I'll be an ambassador for next year as well. And hopefully I will be on the streets running that race next November 2021, and maybe some of you can join me as well. Again, my ambassador code is 2020 Straight Kim, STR8KIM, and you'll receive $10 off of your race registration. And I'll also leave a custom registration link down below that you can just click and the discount code will already be added, or you can just go to their website, Route 66 Marathon, and enter that code at checkout to save the $10. Well, I am introducing a new segment to the show called Runners Doing Good. So, if you are doing something great in the run community and you would like me to chat about it on the show, send me an email, hello@therunwave.com, and we can chat about it and see if I can give you a little mention on the show. So, this week's episode in our Runners Doing Good section, I am featuring Philip King, and you may remember Philip King. He was a guest on this show previously. He was also he's my only two-time guest on this show. And he taught us about doing his first half marathon during COVID. He gave us a play-by-play of that experience. I'll leave a link to that episode down below so you can listen to it. Philip is doing the White River Marathon for Kenya in Arkansas, and this marathon has a really great cause attached to it. I'm just going to read off some of their cause to you so you can learn a little bit about the organization and what they are doing for Kenya. The White River Marathon for Kenya has raised tens of thousands of dollars for the village of Katito, Kenya, providing potable portable water wells, clothing, and a host of other necessities, working in conjunction with World Vision. The part of this process that is special is that Philip is collecting lightly worn shoes, running shoes, to donate to this organization, which will be sent back to Kenya. So WRM teams with Eco Sneakers to make the best use of used and worn out running shoes. From gnarly, dog-chewed, yard work, pink splattered, snarly shoes to gently used, they didn't match my new Garmin band, that's cute, with micro treads on the outside, we'll take them. So Philip is collecting the shoes, and you can send him a DM on Instagram. I'll put his Instagram up here, and he will send you his information that you can send your lightly used or gently used running sneakers to him so that he can collect them, and he actually ships them off to Kenya. So definitely check this out. I'll be sending Philip some of my shoes, those New Balance sneakers that I bought years ago for a London Marathon entry that I didn't get, and they're practically new. So I'm going to send those off to Philip because they're just in my closet collecting dust, and I know someone in Kenya can make great use of those sneakers and maybe win a marathon in them one day. So that would be dope. But definitely help this cause out, help our friend Philip out. He's a fellow runner, and he is a runner doing good. Okay, so a new Instagram account popped up a couple weeks ago, and it is called Rebuild NYRR. Now, a few of you did send me their profile because I did do 2 episodes on Atlanta Track Club and what was going on with their Peachtree Road Race, and I did compare them to New York Road Runners in that article. Now, a few of you also sent me the link and said, did you know that the CEO of NYRR makes $500K a year? The relevancy of that is, during my episode, I did read off the salaries of the executives of the Atlanta Track Club, not to spotlight how much they were making, but because they mentioned that one of the reasons why they weren't returning the registration fees for the Peachtree Road Race was because they were a nonprofit, and the registration fees from the Peachtree Road Race were an integral part of the mission of ATC. So that's the only reason why I brought up the salaries of the Atlanta Track Club executives. Now, New York Road Runners, the top executives, they do make a lot of money, and the top guy does make $500,000, which, I mean, it's a lot of money, but in New York Road Runners and Atlanta Track Club are 2 different organizations. They're both nonprofit. One is in New York, one is in Atlanta, totally different cost of living. So, you know, I wasn't justifying or playing down what the executives made in Atlanta Track Club. I just wanted to know if they were paying their executives this amount and they were not refunding money. I needed to know what they were doing with that money and where it was going. New York Roadrunners, I'm not sticking up for New York Roadrunners, but I'm just stating a fact. New York Roadrunners did offer the option of a refund for all of their races, or you can get credit for next year. So you just weren't out of the dust or stuck with doing a virtual race. You did have options with New York Roadrunners. That was a little bit of a detour, but I had to get that salary situation out of the way first. Okay, back to Rebuild NYRR. I first want to read you off their description of this account. And I'm just gonna put it up on the screen here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can read it along with me. Their description says, we are current and past employees of NYRR, New York Roadrunners. Join us to #rebuild NYRR and share your stories. And they have a link in the bio. I'll put that link down below as well. Their first post to the page was August 31st, and that post reads, silencing employees. Now, I want to preface this by saying that this is all alleged. Everything coming off this page is anonymous. So this is alleged, and I'm just going to read what is public knowledge and publicly posted on Instagram. This post is called Silencing Employees. All staff members who were laid off and eligible for a severance package were asked to sign a non-disclosure-like agreement, which stated that they would not receive their severance pay if they spoke up about the company in a negative light. And the second slide on that post says, this effectively silenced around 34 people from speaking about their experiences at NYRR. Also on August 31st, NYRR employees have little trust, that is highlighted, little trust in the board of directors. Many employees want to talk to the board but lack confidence and trust, as they do not believe the board will act with integrity when called upon to confidentiality support their employees. Second slide. The relationship between the chairman of the board, Michael, how do you spell this? Michael, how do you pronounce his name? I know I'm butchering this. Caprezo? I'm going to say Michael C. is too close for comfort for many NYRR employees. People feel retribution because of Michael's relationship with the chairman. Also on August 31st, workplace violence against women at NYRR headquarters. Several employees witnessed a white male senior manager get angry and scream in the face of a female Latinx employee. He cornered her into her desk and forcibly grabbed her arm. Another manager had to grab both of his arms and yank him away from her. The VP of HR told several of the witnesses who reported the incident that HR must first investigate whether this male employee had been involved in similar incidents in the past or if this was an isolated incident. He was not fired. The woman was still required to be in his reporting line. He continued to have women report directly to him. Also, on August 1st, 2020, New York Roadrunners were laid off and furloughed 51% of staff. NYRR intentionally underreported that number to the public, including an article in Runner's World that quoted the total reduction as 11% layoff and 28% furlough. Staff were inaccurately informed or not informed at all about the total layoffs and furloughs. HR intentionally did not share the organizational chart after their reduction. Staff were left to figure out who to connect with on outstanding projects, not knowing if a team member had been laid off or furloughed. The intentional lack of transparency about staff reduction was executed by PR, so Michael's salary would not look so obscene in the same sentence as staff reduction. NYRR played on the sympathy of runners and donors while they continued to pay leadership large salaries. So this page really goes on and on and on. I mean, there seems to be details here that really only current or former employees would know. That's why I kind of understand why the page is anonymous. But there is one other thing that I wanted to read to you. about the demands that these current and former employees requested of New York Roadrunners. So they wrote a letter to the board of NYRR, and it is quite lengthy, so I'm going to leave the link to the letter in the show notes. It'll be on my website. It'll be down below. So it starts the letter to the board of directors of New York Roadrunners, and I'm just going to highlight certain parts of this letter, which I find very interesting. It starts off with, we, current and former employees, are writing anonymously out of fear of retaliation to express our profound concern with the trajectory New York Roadrunners is heading under the current leadership of Michael, President and CEO. I'm not going to butcher his last name again. So some of the highlights of this letter: financial mismanagement and suspected malfeasance, racism and other forms of discrimination, performative diversity, marginalizing BIPOC staff, and hindrance of DEI, youth and community program mismanagement, and there's so much more. But they were demanding immediate removal of Michael, the president and CEO and board member, as he fosters toxic, discriminatory, and systematically racist work culture at New York Roadrunners. Conduct an independent pay equity audit, communicate results, and take corrective action to remediate disparities. Restructure human resources and accompanying policies and procedures to force an anti-racist and anti-discriminatory workplace. Communicate results from the audit, commit to DEI integration, a new external president and CEO hired by a diverse search committee. This letter is extremely detailed, and it does outline exactly what the current and former employees want. Again, I will leave it linked below because it is quite long. I'll screenshot some of it and put it up there for you, but you'll have to go and read it for yourself. Hopefully it is still there by the time you go and read the notice. So yeah, there is just a lot to unpack here. I mean, none of this is good, quite honestly, and it does, this situation is really not that far-fetched and is entirely believable because we know what goes on in corporate America, even at a nonprofit organization. But New York Roadrunners is a huge nonprofit organization. They're bringing in millions of dollars a year. They pay the NYPD millions of dollars a year for security at their races. So this is no mom and pop organization. New York Roadrunners is massive. And if these are the things that are going on within their organization, do we still want to support them? Do we still want to pay our membership fees to an organization that doesn't value their employees of color? Do we want to support an organization that allegedly lets abuse go on in the workplace unchecked? Is that who we want to support? So, I hope that these current and former employees can come to some kind of resolution with New York Roadrunners if these allegations are true, because I know for myself, and I've been racing New York Roadrunners since I started running. It's a big part of my running history. I run the New York City Marathon 4 times. I love the city of New York, but I will not continue to support an organization that doesn't support me. And by me, I mean Black people, Black women, people of color. So, I stand with these current and former employees. I don't know why anyone would put this type of thing out there if it wasn't true. And I just want New York Roadrunners to speak up about it, because they have had so many missteps during, this current climate that we're in. And, I saw a few, I don't know if they're still up. If they're still up, I'll find them and put it on the screen. But they had a few questionable posts and that had the, all lives matter feeling to it. And when they received the backlash, they reversed those posts and they moved on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon. So, I'm just sick of these organizations and their bullshit, quite honestly. And at this point, I'm just like, I'm not in the mood to just give my money to companies that just are not doing right by people. And it sucks And it sucks for us as runners. It sucks for these employees because this is their livelihood. It's a sucky ass situation. And I wish that we didn't have to go through this. But the only way that we as a running community can help these employees, current and former, out is to stand by them and stop supporting this organization if they keep doing what they're doing and they're not showing some level of improvement and steps to remedy these situations. So Rebuild NYRR, I stand by you. If someone wants to come on the Runwave podcast and, tell your side of the story, I'm more than happy to have you on. If there's someone from New York Road Runners that wants to come on the podcast, I'm happy to have you on as well. Hit me in my DMs, send an email to hello@therunwave.com, and we will chat. I also want to give a mention to another new Instagram page that popped up. It is called New York City Running Idea, and their description is New York City Running Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access Committee, because there are too many barriers to entry for too many runners. So I want you to check out that Instagram page as well. They have a petition on there through change.org, and the petition is Race and Inclusion in the New York City Running Community, NYRR petition. So go and check that out as well. And New York has been like, it's been crazy these last few months. I'm telling you, I just went out to eat this past weekend, and New York is kind of starting to feel like it's getting back to normal, or whatever our new normal is again. And New York Road Runners is returning to road racing. They're having a NYRR Return to Racing Pilot 4M, which is going to be September 27th in Central Park. So it feels like we are slowly but surely getting back to racing. I've seen races pop up here and there. I've seen one of my friends did a race in one of the Dakotas. I can't remember if it was north or south, but she did that at the end of last month. I see people are racing. They're socially distanced races. The races are smaller. So racing is starting to happen again. So if you're feeling like slowly stepping back into racing, you can definitely do that now because smaller races are happening. And I'm kind of excited to see where things are going, because I know we all have like cabin fever now, so it will be just great to kind of get back on the road again and just see. I haven't seen any of my race. I mean, I've seen my race friends that I'm close with, I've seen them, but my groups overall, I haven't seen any of my running groups since March. It is now September. It's been 6 long months. So yeah, it would be nice to just get together and say hey with people, socially distanced. So I'm happy things are kind of getting back, and I'm excited to see where things are going. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of the Runway podcast. It was nice to just chat with you guys again, with my friends, with my people. When I do interviews back to back to back, I like to just sit down and just talk to you one-on-one. I feel like it's one-on-one. It's just me in my room talking, but I feel like I'm talking to you guys again, and it feels good. So thank you again for tuning into the show, for supporting the show. I really appreciate all of you, and I am going to continue, speaking, being the voice of runners, speaking our truth. I'm not here to placate any organizations, not to sugarcoat anything. I'm here to keep it real and to bring you my honest thoughts and opinion. And if you have honest thoughts and opinion that you want to bring to the show, I'm happy to have any runner on this show to share your opinion on matters of the run community. So thanks again for tuning into the Runway podcast, and I will catch you on the next one. Later. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Be sure to subscribe to The Runway on your favorite podcast app and leave us a review of the show on Apple Podcasts. It would really help me out. If you are a runner that has a story to tell and you would like to be on the show, you can email hello@therunwave.com or send us a DM on Instagram to The Run Wave. See you next time.